We wish you a Irie Christmas. Oh, year and New Year's are just the same. Christmas on a broke pocket day. We wish you a Irie Christmas. We wish you a Irie Christmas. We wish you a Irie Christmas and a dance all New Year. Great tidings, Natty Jane bring you. Great tidings, Natty Jane bring you. Great tidings, Natty Jane bring you. And a dance all New Year. We skank and rock it to the rhythm. We rock and we rock the rhythm. We scrub and we rub and we dub-wise. And a happy dance. We bring you a Irie Christmas. We bring you a Irie Christmas. We bring you a Irie Christmas and a dance all New Year. You love up, you rub up on a Christmas. You rub up, you scrub up on a Christmas. You rub up and you dub up on a Christmas and a dance all New Year. We wish you merry, 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 merry Christmas on a broke pocket day. Not even 1 cent to buy a little toy. We dance and rock it to the Icemas. We rub it and scrub it to the Icemas. We rub it and dub it to the Christmas. On a broke pocket this year. Everybody gonna jump in and a shouting. Everybody gonna jump in and a shouting. Everybody gonna jump in and a shouting. And Ben Johnson dear, we wish you a Irie Christmas. We wish you a Irie Christmas. We wish you a Irie Christmas and dance all do. Everybody in the dance all singing. Everybody in the dance all rocking. Everybody is skanking and a rocking. And a broke pocket dear. We rub up and a scrub up and a skanking. We skank and a rocking and a moving. We move and a rocking and a dub-wise. And a happy New Year. We wish you a Irie Christmas. We wish you a Irie Christmas. We wish you a Irie Christmas and a happy dub-wise. We wish you a Irie Christmas. We wish you a Irie Christmas. We wish you a Irie Christmas and a dance all New Year. Great tidings, Natty Jane bring you. Great tidings, Natty Jane bring you. Great tidings, Natty Jane bring you. Pon a broke pocket dear. We wish you a Irie Christmas. We wish you a Irie Christmas. We wish you a Irie Christmas and a happy, happy, happy broke pocket day. Since God broke pocket day, I never tell you about the day, 'cause I know about the Christmas. I wanna tell you, said I know about the Christmas. Yeah. Imagine Christmas come and I don't even have 1 cent to buy a toy.
What that means love. Loving Africa, loving Jamaica. But I need to really tell you when your name is Baker or Fonseca. I say Jamaica. I wanna see me see come make me rock it downtown. But I tell you about the song of the nigga, we only could and no matter what you do, we don't say, yeah, you know. Because I'm coming from the Amharic temple. I'm here to really set a better example. So make me touch you by your dimple. I'm up there with you in temple. Come you see coming from the Amharic temple. So me really I go really speak up Amharic. Yeah, you know. Down on the look we know about. Because so me say wishing you a Merry Christmas. I'm from the Amharic temple. I tell we will see an example. So no so me see them coming from the Amharic temple. And we see the nigga make an example. Can't really tell you down but like who we don't find me city. Can't you rock and come and rock
Right now, I thought smoke herb free now, but through them say Christmas. This day after our day, but not forget lock up. Think I'm done with it.
You are now in the mix with DJ K Flair. Fire,
all I want for Christmas, Cali herb, and we smoke up the herb and rest. All we want for Christmas, Cali herb, Cali herb, oh my Cali herb. All I want for Christmas, Cali herb, and we smoke up the pipe and rest. Please, the cutter send the herb over next door. Send on the herb, make we smoke up the pipe. Please, could you send the herb over next door, make we smoke up the pipe. Let me smoke up the pipe and rest. Darling, choose sentence bay. See the Cali man run across the way. Him send 9 ounce and me getting the redness now. Oh, all me want is my Cali herb, oh my Cali herb. All I want is my Cali herb and me getting redder than red. Oh.
Fire, baby.
Smoke up with herb and red. Some like rum, some like pork, some like beef, some like stick it, some like what? All kind of cocaine and dope. But I want what? All I want is my Cali herb, oh my Cali herb. All I want for Christmas, my Cali herb. Make me smoke up the Cali and red. Tell about this Cali herb for Christmas. All we want is a Cali herb, oh my Cali herb. Mr. Cutter send the Cali herb, make we smoke up the herb and red. Send the Cali come, make we light up the herb, make we smoke up the signal, smoke the Cali herb, make we red, cause we red and jet. Oh, ja.
Yes, indeed, a pleasant good night to all and sundry. It is yesterday, a Sunday night edition of the Corridor Transformation. In this Christmassy, of course, atmosphere.
Fire, baby.
Say bring the Gucci come make me lick it till it done. Bring the Gucci come make me lick it till it done. The Cali Say all I want for Christmas is a Jaja and the Cali cause it's a Cali man scam. The Cali man scam. The Cali man a skank and gonna play it on the bank. The Cali man skank him gonna rub it on the bank. I say the Cali man scam. The Cali man scam. The Cali man scam come make me rub it on the bank. Ja.
Yes, indeed, of course, once again, a pleasant good night to all and sundry. Yes, I will be having a wonderful time tonight because there were some things that we had not focused on the last 2 nights when we looked at, of course, the whole question of the Venezuelan Guyanese arrangement, let's put it that way, and, of course, the beautiful arrangement conceived by and executed brilliantly by Ralph Gonzalez, and it has taken over or has usurped by miles the efforts of Dr. Rowley to, of course, take that position of being a regional leader. Of course, he inherited a country that will be difficult to argue that it is not or was not a leader in CARICOM in the Caribbean. Of course, the third richest country per capita, of course, income or per capita in the Western Hemisphere. However, what we have seen is an overwhelming, or should I say, an extraordinary effort to, of course, demonstrate some kind of uniqueness, some kind of overwhelming force, or some kind of superior ability that turns out to be exercise in forepaw. Or should I say, let me invent a word, forepawism. Yeah, because how you could be so blighted that every time you propose an initiative and saying that it is unique to you, it is egotistic, it is narcissistic, it is of course your prodigy, and then of course it turns out to be a pillar of salt. I mean, we could talk about sandals, you could talk about the sea bridge, you could talk about the economy, you could talk about the gas deals, you could talk about, I mean, it is overwhelming. And yet still, the administration, instead of calling an election, because it claims inside of all of that, that it is democratic. Well, if you are democratic, and if you are patriotic, and if you love Trinidad and Tobago, and if we, the population, is supposed to be your, as he says in boardrooms, that he has as the leading so-called representative or salesperson for Trinidad and Tobago. And I want to tell him one time, please, Dr. Rowley, when you get the hell out of office in 2025 at maximum, please do not say that you have been or in any way part of being a salesperson for Trinidad and Tobago. Your patriotism is questioned. And of course, your treason, I think, is very, very pellucid and conspicuous. But that being as it may, he says he went to boardroom and said that he has shareholders too, and the shareholders are, of course, Trinidad and Tobago, the electorate, the people of Trinidad and Tobago who have a stake in Trinidad and Tobago simply because they, by the, let's say, the turn of serendipity, or put more specifically, the Lord's will, and we are here. And to see the blatant and, of course, a total and absolute collapse of that patriotism and that so-called self-appointed advocate for Trinidad and Tobago as far as this so-called salesperson is concerned, I want to tell him that any salesperson that he is has to be for the 1%, having regard, of course, to those persons that he regularly referred to as the persons who have the 80% of the country's resources at their disposal, private resources at their disposal, 80% of the wealth, in other words, concentrated there. He, of course, clearly wanted and was yearning to be part of that, is now part of that, a lowly, of course, and should I say nebulous and insignificant professor who, of course, came out of a university with a university professor's salary, and to become one of the more wealthy people over the last 8 years in particular, but more significantly when he entered into government, having regarded to landate and other matters that are of a bubble nature surrounding this man, including, of course, all of his conduct. I mean, you cannot be more anti-democratic, nor can you be more self-serving, more egotistic, and at the same time attempting to impose some kind of authoritarian regime or disposition or tendency on the people of Trinidad and Tobago, which we will resist, as this program has demonstrated, as the ground report has demonstrated, as Anil Roberts, as of course Victor Roberts and others, who clearly, it doesn't matter whether they bring those fake so-called talk show hoax to tell people to jump over people's fence, and of course to engage in all kinds of what I consider to be political and democratic betrayals that of course is not only despicable but not not only annoying, but also ad nauseum. It's sickening. But people, we have a job to do, and so long as they have the legal remit to stay in office because of the Constitution and the legalities associated with that, we are going to buy our time. But at the end of the day, we know what we have to do, and Rowley's seat in Diego Martin West must be the first to be tackled. This is, of course, the corridor transformation. Lennox Smith, your host tonight. Of course, I want to thank all of you who made your calls and who, of course, made contributions, and, of course, listening as well. I saw quite a lot of persons sharing, and I want to say you continue so to do as we, of course, move inexorably into 2024 with, of course, our agenda to communicate with the world leaders and to let them know what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago. And it's not only that, we have to let them know what is happening with the EBC. We have to let them know what is happening with the DPP. We have to let them know what is happening with independent institutions such as the Police Service Commission, such as, of course, even the Police Complaints Authority, because we trust them not one bit. And, of course, the most recent intervention of a very despicable and, of course, questionable nature is when, of course, they now displace the former head of the Industrial Court, Deborah Felix. So we know that the pernicious, the poisonous, and the politically deceptive, deceitful, and, of course, power-mongering hands of the PNM is, of course, involved in that. In fact, it was so blatant and so glaring that, of course, the Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago has called for the function of appointing judges to the Industrial Court no longer be a function of the combination of the cabinet, the president, or the Chief Justice. They are saying that it should be placed just as how judges are appointed. Then, of course, the same thing should apply to judges or functionaries at that level or adjudicators of the Industrial Court. And that institution, though too we have seen has been infiltrated, but very difficult because there's a large measure of independence. Why that independence is jealously guarded to a specific extent? Well, because they know that the judicial committee of the Privy Council will review their decisions when people decide to go to the Privy Council, and so they have to be much more circumspect and not, of course, beholden to or in any way gravitating to the political directorate, which clearly under the PNM has been in office for so long that they have, of course, literally implanted in all of the major institutions. There are people who, of course, most of whom I'm sure would have been mediocres and continue to be mediocres, but believe that they are beholden to the party that put them there from Eric William times come right back, and therefore that level of nepotism, that level of cronyism, that level of undermining and, of course, compromising the integrity not only of the institutions but individual, as if they have no brain or they have no compunction or they have no consideration for the objectivity and the purpose for which they are attached in terms of the institution that is supposed to function in the interests of Trinidad and Tobago and a critical part of the checks and balance that, of course, against executive power we see has been compromised too often and too conspicuous not to be concerned. Look at, of course, the office of president. You cannot tell me that Kangaloo is not what we anticipated, but it is now a reality, a manifestation. When, of course, she agreed, even though she had a major function in the replacement or the termination of the contract or the renewal of the contract of the head of the industrial court. You can't tell me that. No, it is clear and blatant. And let me tell you what's the next move. The next move is when Kamala Persad-Bissessar and the UNC takes over government, even though they are much brighter, smarter, and they are more creative. So I know that they are going to get through anyway, but that does not eliminate the attempt by this government through the president to, of course, absolve even before criminal charges are laid. The president, under our constitution, has the ability, even in an investigation scenario, to, of course, absolve or to terminate or to render ineffective an investigation of elements that she would have, of course, put her pen to. So we're going to be looking at that. But by that time, she would be 2 years into the office and would have had only 1 more year in order, of course, to serve. And thereafter, a new president will take charge. But the damage could be done in 1 year, 2 years. And therefore, we must be, of course, very circumspect and very conscious of that. We will have to act affirmatively. We will have to act ruthlessly and brutally because, of course, you fight fire with fire. When people like Rowley and his government believe that somehow they can impose the level of brutality and the oppression and the wickedness and the deterioration of our circumstance, and believe that they could get away with it through maladministration and, of course, the inability to manage the affairs of the country by and large, but will sell a story and, of course, deflect attention away from their incompetence, impotence onto others, which we know, like in the case of Kamala Persad-Bissessar and the opposition, have performed creditably and, of course, much more efficaciously and in the interest of Trinidad and Tobago. Even their administration demonstrates when they talked about, of course, the People's Partnership speaks volumes, and they did in fact deliver between 2010 and 2015. Pleasant good night once again to all and sundry, east, west, north and south, our friends in Tobago, and wherever you are streaming on the World Wide Web, a pleasant good night to you. This is, yes, the Corridor Transformation, your host, Lennox Smith. Let me just correct something, or should I say add to what I said last night, because I don't think I had finished it when I spoke about Laventille and the fact that the PNM is have a debt of gratitude and a debt of, should I say, a debt to Laventille in more ways than one. Yes, I want to conclude that because one may ask what's the basis on which I'm speaking, having regard, of course, to the fact as to what they did to Despas. And, of course, what are the overall malaise and the deterioration and the third-class and second-class citizens and the higher than national average murders, the higher than national average school dropouts, the higher than national average youth pregnancy, the higher than national average single-parent families, the higher than national average youths truancy, the higher than national average young people not doing well in school. And therefore, I say it is a direct result of the policies and programs of the PNM one being in office for too long. But more significantly, the people themselves, the electorate, have anchored themselves too long. And apparently, if that is not dislodged, to their own detriment. And that is what we must be focused on as Laventillians. But I want to say that the 1986 elections qualifies Laventille to take over the PNM. You know what I say qualified Laventille to take over the PNM. The poor leadership that the PNM has been able, of course, to evolve, to emerge from that scenario is appalling, is amazing. Because you can't tell me that the leadership of Despas, for example, couldn't at least raise an alarm, couldn't raise a concern, that is unacceptable, that you're setting them up, of course, for voluntary or should I say involuntary suicide. I say involuntary from the perspective that it is the PNM that put them there on Nelson Street to die, to of course be victims of drive-by shootings and other heinous crimes that the area has been of course known for. No tourists going there. No tourists going there. I say no tourists going there. Despers, you have betrayed yourselves by, of course, not at least talking out that location, that piece of investment, both real estate and development in terms of the Pan Theatre. It's like walking into some kind of a machine where you will eventually, inevitably be grounded up. You remind me of Don Quixote and trying to fight a windmill. That is what you have done. But that is enough criticism. I'm sure that by now you would understand that where I am coming from. But the fact of the matter is that the leadership of Laventille and the opportunity, of course, to treat with this matter is wanting, and it is, of course, necessary to be remedied and to, of course, make certain that the situation, it's not too late. It's not too late, people, but you have a duty and responsibility to, of course, be conscious and to treat with the matter affirmatively, viciously, because Rowley and they will not relent. It's obvious. Imagine they sell you, they give you acid, salt, filth, and then tell you that is, of course, the best thing that you deserve. And in fact, it's probably too good for you. So Rowley tells you he doesn't want to come back there and see that it is that bedlam and, of course, a den of crime and criminality. After he puts you in the center of crime and criminality in Trinidad and Tobago and in Port of Spain in particular. I mean, come on. Gang warfare, borderline issue, all of those the area has been subjected to. And yet still, they have the audacity, the temerity, the gall, and the effrontery to tell the people of Laventille, by extension, that that's the best thing for you. And of course, this morning, when I was talking about that level of betrayal and that level of what I consider to be patronizing statements, because they want to believe that they are above and that you are to grovel. Well, I want to tell you as well that the swimming pool, and let me call her name one time, Julia Davy and others, I want them to know, take note, the swimming pool for Malabar. You ever say the swimming pool for Malabar cost $11 million. That is what they opened over the weekend. But the one at Sugar Trace, Rowley said it was costing $25 million, but he get it billed for $5 million. And we had a hectic and a healthy discourse on that matter. And I said that Laventille was shortchanged. Well, several years later, we know now. Why would that particular community, Malabar, get a $11 million swimming pool and not Laventille, Sugar Trace, or even Mova? Why? It's obvious. It's obvious. There are two factors in the main. One, they disrespect Laventille. They don't deserve the maximum. They deserve the minimum. Secondly, They see the Laventille as a fait accompli, as a ready-made electoral victory domain or constituencies. Yes. And therefore it is automatic, so they don't have to pay much attention or pay or invest as much as they would in other areas. Why Malabar? Even though Malabar is part of a constituency that would regularly be won by the PNM, but the big difference is that Anil Roberts won it already. You know what I say Anil Roberts won it already. In other words, it has morphed into a marginal seat or almost a marginal seat. And therefore, they prefer to spend 11 million, twice the amount for a swimming pool than they would pay in Laventille and Mover, both of which are probably either doesn't meet or exceed the 11 million that was, of course, paid for the construction of the Malabar swimming pool. Come on, get on with the issue. The leadership within the PNM and that in the Laventille area, you must now become conscious and understand the opportunities you have and the leverage that you can manipulate if you only talk out and, of course, get on, as we would say in Laventille, bad. Get on bad, and you will see. You think if you were doing what was required, that they would have gone on Duncan Street and displaced these poor people and, of course, destroyed buildings that were structurally, I wouldn't say perfect, but structurally sound. Recently renovated, the roofs were changed to modern standards, and yet still they simply want them out so that they could bring the 1%ers back there because of a gentrification agenda they have to, of course, have them close to Port of Spain on the hill, etc. Whilst you, who can least afford it, have to go to places like San Fernando and far up in the east and other parts of the country where you would hardly know or never thought that you would have had to leave Port of Spain, having regard, of course, to the what I consider to be the socio-economic ecology that you would have created between yourselves and the development of that area as of course, as for some would say that it was not sufficient, but you did your part, but the lack of intervention by the PNM, who has been there for so long and you have been supported for so long, they have failed you. Don't ever believe that you are a failure. It is we, at the same time, who invented the steel pan. It is we who initiated Carnival. Understand that. And therefore, in those circumstances alone, it means, therefore, we have very intelligent people there. But the fact of the matter is that bad always makes news. Bad always, because I asked the question at one time when I had Robinson and, of course, several ambassadors and his entire cabinet in Laventille, in Parsley Street, Laventille, a hotbed for crime and criminality. When we launch, of course, our MLIO, the Mobile Laventille Improvement Organization Program, and when Robinson, as Prime Minister, look around and he saw ambassadors from Germany, ambassador from Canada, ambassador from the Netherlands, ambassador from the UK, the US ambassador wasn't there. He asked the question, I ain't bring the whole world, Mr. Smith, but you ain't bring my cabinet here alone, but you bring the whole world. That is what Robinson's response was. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
A pleasant good night to you, Lennox, and to everybody on chat and season greeting. The countdown is on, Lennox.
Yes.
Lennox, yes, tonight I am here to please Marky Boom Boom Fly. I want to tell Marky Boom Fly, go back.
Go ahead. I get a little static there. What's happening there? What is on your end?
When you see that, the internet is going down. Lennox, we are having a lot of problems with the internet.
Yeah.
I don't know what I feel. I feel Flo is an arm of the PNM.
No doubt.
Yeah, I feel that. No, Lennox.
Yes.
He took out the 11 million for the pool, right?
Yes.
But I believe it's a lie. I believe it's a lie. How much kickback went to Bali's house?
For all of them, not just they will even thief from Lavadil people too. So don't believe it just
right.
Malabar.
But
Yes.
they're good for them. They like it so. Lennox, but he talked about that if people didn't used to go to the Privy Council to fight cases, they would have had more pools. You hear a lie? If he was a thief at the Bill Bali's house, he know all who was thieving under the partnership government. So I going to say it. If you was a thief at the Bill Bali's house, every constituency will have got the pool.
That's right.
But
That's
he,
the conclusion. Anybody with focusing on that will understand that. The man is a total, total lump of protoplasm that ought to remain still in some egg. But go ahead.
He's a turd. He's a lump of turd. Hello?
Go ahead. I'm hearing you.
Yeah, okay, you hearing me? Okay, yeah,
Yes.
Lennox.
Yes.
This man, I don't know who he feel that he's fooling. I want to ask him. I want to ask tonight. I want to say tonight, if you didn't give Vincent the 10 million to bribe him, right? For Faris Adem, Faris saying the whole of the AG office to witness Tampa with Vincent Nelson. How many swimming pools we would have gotten? He was the one that said when he went to Opium College, he said, if the partnership government didn't thief out the money, we would have got more equipment.
Always. That's a
85
cliche.
million, yeah.
That's a cliche. We know that that's expected because he's seen others, that which is in them.
Right. He know all who was thieving. And you paid 48 million. And Kate couldn't find any wrongdoing with the partnership government. You pay everybody that you reach so far, only reach so far. As a bribe Vincent Nelson, I'll come and backfire on them. Everything is going to backfire. And all the bamboo that Marky Bum Bum Fly wishing on us, see if he don't get it instead. And I want to tell him, you could cuss my mother how much you wanted me.
That's right.
My
That's
mother produced a fine specimen as me. A fine specimen as me. An intelligent specimen as me. He talked about Anand Ram Logan giving briefs to his friends and his family. So Anand had to ask him, and I quote, do you want me to my enemies? But the nice thing about it is, all the people that he hired, they won cases for the state. The proof is there. This is no fiction. This is no hearsay. The proof is there. But I want to remind Rowley, between 2015 and March of 2023, Kerwin Garcia, the president's husband, who only went to make senior counsel recently, raking 14.5 million in briefs. But they don't see that. Nobody's talking about that. Where Ramesh Mount is now, where John Jeremy is now, because they were calling on the DPP to investigate Anand Ram Logan hiring practices. Did Kerwin Garcia win a case for this government? No. So you see how all of them feeding at the trough. But Rowley know all who was thieving. Rowley know all who came in to the government that couldn't buy a doubles. Rowley know that. They all over Holland asking for what they call Lal bill. Lal bill, we want to know where Inis get you bill. And they saw he rate all of them, everything they hear keep from. We say they come on the chat, oh, whichever chat, and agitating it. Just like a dog. Yeah. Lennox, these people, shame, no shame whatsoever. And you can talk about millions were spent here and more could be spent if people wasn't going to the if criminals, if wrongdoers wasn't going to the council in cases, if they were saying that they are wrongdoers, but the Privy Council saying they are not. Why did Rowley go to court? Brought the integrity commission into court. Why? Now shameless Rowley telling the integrity commission, oh, they're doing some bidding that they had to respond to him.
Yeah, he has been victimized. Imagine that.
Yeah, poor fella.
The victimizer is now saying that he's been victimized. Something like when Fali put him in the House of Assembly and say that he is undermining, he is conspiring to undermine with Erla and of course the PNM and Tobago, his administration. He like that. He want to take everybody to court because he must do unto others that which he don't want others to do unto him. Hold your tail.
Yeah.
Hold your tail. There's nothing sacrosanct about you, Rowley. You are a blasted a criminal and miscreant. Go ahead, my friend. Sorry about that. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Liar. He's a liar because he walked into the office lying and he continued to over lies. Run, tell him. Talk about. But said Vincent, to mediate one, the picture was taken with him.
Yes, all right, go ahead.
I think he went to, yeah, I think he went to see if they were calling his name. That's what he went for.
Yeah,
but let me tell you something.
These are jokers. These are nincompoops. These are asinine specimen of inhumanity. I for a long time
Lennox, the man is a fraud.
Yeah.
Yes, the man is a fraud.
Comic relief on a daily basis. Comic relief.
Because you promise, you tell everybody you are a corruption buster, but your government is the most corrupt government we've ever seen. Where they think Manning was bad. Where they think Manning was bad. This is the most corrupt government that we have seen. And the proof is in the procurement legislature put in. The proof is in that put in. Because he went and he butchered it, he lied that there were loopholes or whatever. They butchered it for friends, family, and CARICOM neighbors. Lennox, thanks for listening to my 2 cents and have a good night. Marky Bum Bum Fly, over to you now.
Yeah, they see in others that which is in them. But let me tell you this as well. There is none as blind as he or she who refuses to see, even though he has 20/20 vision. We know you. We know you are in an acute state of denial. We know that you are stupefied because of the success in spite of the malicious and the evil and the vindictive nature of Rowley and his administration. We know that you know that it is an abuse of office. When you couldn't get Alan Ramlogan, you're trying something else. All will fail. But the only problem is it will be at the expense of our treasury and us. Professor, good night. Welcome to the corridor.
A very, very good evening to you, sir. I would like to endorse every ounce or sentiment that was expressed by the last caller.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much. Yes, well, I'm sure she's listening.
But however, I have to caution her that people like herself and myself, may have contributed to the atrocities that are being meted out to our Trinidadians people. Maybe we were not conscious of it, but we might have contributed. Because, I mean, it is a fact that some of us did not factor in the jackassness of this jackass named Rowley, and we supported him, and not only once, twice. Right? I am gonna plead, I'm gonna scream and beg every Trinidadian, sorry, to remove this jackass from there. Right? Come on, vote in unity, vote in support of Trinidad and Tobago. Not necessarily Kamala. Vote in getting Trinidad to be a better place. However, I support Kamala very much, yes. But I want a better Trinidad and Tobago. We have got a jackass, a total. Can I am not promised to use the word.
Get some liberty, not on the ground report, but you can get a little more liberty here. But go ahead, let me hear.
This man is, oh my God. I mean, have you ever met Lennox? Have you ever met somebody more stupid than that jackass?
No, boy, no. But except, of course, indirectly in the form of Rowley and his minions. All of his ministers appear to...
And I would have heard you spoken about A.N.R. Robinson, right? A.N.R. Robinson, who would have been part of the coalition to remove the PNM one time.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Yes,
and that man torn against the party that he was part of.
Yes.
Yeah, is that right? Do I have that right?
No, you're right. You're right. In fact, he was given the opportunity.
It's a combination of two. Yeah. It's a combination of two Tobagans, right?
Yeah.
Okay, does that tell us something that Tobagans might be good people, but we don't have all of them are smart people?
Well, in the case of Rowley, I mean that is a definite. Positive statement.
A.N.R. Robinson is one of the guys who I would have looked up to because, the man being a professor, doctor, whatever. But the man has also proven to be worse than Rowley.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Because the decision in the 1818 situation, I mean, it's totally.
Yeah.
I mean,
you are supposed to get for the incumbent. Which was Pandey at the time.
Yes.
Yeah?
And then
right?
talk about
and you know what hurts me more, Lennox, is that look, the stride Trinidad would have achieved and taken at the time under right? And come on, I mean, is something wrong with us in Trinidad? Don't we like progress? Are we hating progress?
No, we seem to be our worst enemy. We seem to be
self-destructive. It appears so. I mean,
yeah.
Lennox, I have to tell you something. Like about maybe 25 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, I was somewhere in St. Helena, and I was walking along the street, and the guy was selling doubles, and there was this little coolie auntie walking through, and I said, "Hey, Ram auntie," and she was like, yeah, she held my mouth together, and she was like, "Oh my God, son, it's so respectable of you to do that." And then I bought her a double, and I said, "Auntie, I'm giving you a couple of dollars to give to the mandir." And she held on to me, and she was like, "Son, are you Trinidadian?" I said, "Mom, in honesty, I'm not Trinidadian. I'm Guyanese, but I'm in Trinidad." And I could remember then that I asked her and the guy that was selling the doubles, guys, we need to do things like what I'm doing, but also support the party that is going to do better for Trinidad. I had their support then, but I'm not sure what happened after.
Right? I think it is there because there is a factor that has to emerge from a statement you made earlier. I'll wait until you finish, and I'll talk about it when you would have completed your contribution.
Okay, but again, I'm going to reiterate all my sentiments and commitment about the UNC. Trinidad, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. We have been going through too much under this jackass named Rowley. We have gone through too much. We need better governance and better government, and the only person that can produce that is Kamla Passad Brisesar, with people like Lennox, people like Anil Roberts, and and every member of the UNC. Please, I'm screaming, I'm shouting, I'm begging you, go there and support the UNC. Thank you very much, my brother.
Thank you very much. And there are two things that has emerged from that struck me poignantly in the face, in the solar plex, if you want to call it that. Because he said first and foremost that, listen, the people might have been responsible for the production of Rowley when they voted him, of course, in 2010. Obviously, he was referring to that. But you see, I have analyzed that situation as well. There's another factor, but I want to deal with this first. I've looked at that as well. And it is clear that from the utterances and the abuses and the manipulation of the system and the institutions, a fellow like Rowley may appear to get through, even though it is temporary, because of course in 2015 Rowley told us that not only Manning was corrupt, he told us that what happened with Calderhart and the same Unicode which he has under his wings today, producing all kind of things like swimming pool and library and of course community centers. Yes, those are part and parcel of the corruption maze, or the corruption, what I consider to be matrix of this man. He looks for these quite apart from, at the same time, juxtaposed and parallel. He looks for ways and means to absolve himself by attacking others and therefore reflecting what he is doing onto others by a process that psychologists call projection. Understand? So anybody, if I didn't know what I knew, for example, back in 2015, I would have voted for Rowley. I'm telling you, because he came across genuine. He came across as a conscientious fella, no nonsense, etc. But we know not only is he a joker, not only is he incompetent, not only is he corrupt, not only is he a criminal, not only is he a pedophile and a rapist, not only has he been able to still attract the attention of some people who today clearly, in all reality, are supporting or have as their leader a rapist and a pedophile. I know them fellas don't like that, but I had to say it because it's a fact. You see, if it wasn't a fact, he would have attacked me long time. And as I said, that saga ain't finished yet. Only will find out how Lennox Smith will operate. This is not a joking matter. So I want to tell the caller that it is a system of reciprocity that has as a major component reverse and direct psychology. What Rowley did is projected an image that told the people, listen, I will not tackle property tax. I will not tackle, of course, the withdrawal of subsidies. I will not, of course, increase electricity. I will not increase water rates. He told them that back in 2015. And when he got into office now, what he has done is manipulate and infiltrate and has extended his poisonous, infiltratory tentacles to corrupt and pervert the various institutions, as we have seen, in order to stay in office, including that of the Prime Minister, because it is the Prime Minister that is supposed, of course, to engage in what? In getting an independent observers here for elections. And 2 elections, the last one, even though the Privy Council insisted, and thank God, we have 2 militant and what I consider to be contradicting elements that has prevented him from having his full way. We have some serious whistleblowers, and we have the courts, the institution that has prevented him from being a full-fledged, total and absolute dictator. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Lennox, calling from Tobago East.
Yes, indeed. Welcome. How is the weather across there so far?
Well, we have good, very calm right now. We have no wind,
over here
and
as well.
everything.
Over here as well. We have very moderate.
Right.
We had a few.
Good night to Miss Sandra Cruz. Good night to Miss Sandra Cruz if you're here. If you're on, are you listening?
I'm sure she's here. Yes. So extend. Yes.
You know, Dr. Rowley's biggest achievement.
You're right there. I'm not hearing you.
Achievement he will ever achieve.
Right, go ahead.
But this man is one of the dumbest fools that God maybe have created, and is the biggest embarrassment to Tobagonians. That man there. You know, I watch him in this whole thing that go along with Venezuela and thing. I like the man, like Maduro take a shoes and stuff it in his mouth, so he can't really say nothing. He reached to that extent that, you know, like he sell out Trinidad and Tobago to this bus driver that run in Venezuela. You know, 2 stupid men who don't know what the hell they're doing. This Maduro. The next thing Rowley need to do is to do just like what Maduro doing. Having hoodlums running Venezuela. So just now we might have the same situation here, where he having hoodlums like what this man in Grenada used to be doing, Mongoose Gang.
Yeah, that's what he's planning. That's what he's planning, people.
You understand?
Very perceptive, my friend. Yeah.
You know, I wonder something if Rowley really thinking about it. I was thinking one time I listened to where Rowley talking about he joining forces with Venezuela to control the borders. What if that is the case? That what happening in Trinidad with this murder could be coming right next door from Venezuela, because they're telling you that Venezuela is one of the most murderous countries in the world. They don't keep no data about people in Venezuela dying and things, you know. So you see, what our problem in Trinidad here is that border where sieges and all of them is, where people just come in, free shit and go anywhere they want. And it's not only there, you know, it's all over Tobago they're entering. Because the whole area between Trinidad and Tobago is an open sepulchre. So guns, everything coming in. And this Monday, you have a Minister of National Security. It's a big waste of time, that fella did. He hides neither here nor there with nothing that going on around him. All Hines have is that pretty talking. But behind him, he's a dark shadow. He's like an empty nutshell, that fella. So all these people running Trinidad and Tobago, and you have people talking and praising these people. I want to know if it's only mad people around. You know, the PNM is nothing but a cult organization, to tell you the truth. They're not a party, they are a cult organization. So that's why people running around and talking this and nonsense. You see people suffering, and these same people going and vote PNM all the time. All in Tobago, you know, here with them, they're voting PNM for a URP and a CPEPOC. And many of the days, they catch in the backside to get a little salary from them. And ask them how much money they're collecting. You see? They don't want betterment. When Kamala was there, this country was better off. I could say that for myself because As a government pensioner, I get 2 raise up in my pension, right? And some of these people, they're talking. Since Rowley, they just imagine, I seen policemen allocating calling about 4%. They're talking about getting 4% for Christmas. And here we're going on. Courts and them have all kind of bargain to take their money. So here, they want 4% to spend when the woman was giving them 14 or 1%. And the life was better off. Now they're quarreling and they're fighting for 4%. Something wrong with we in Trinidad and Tobago that we not seen through our eyes. We not seen through our eyes that Rowley really is not for the poor people. Kamala say that and she call him an Oreo, and I am tonight going to call him an Oreo also. Because he's not even representing the people that voting for him. He representing the 1% all the time. And they are making the decision in this country and not Rowley. The man who's the finance minister is the man who running this country here. Rowley just like the front page. That's where Rowley is, you know. A total nincompoop. Have a good night. Listen up there.
Yes, indeed, my friend. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. The caller is absolutely correct. But my only difference, unless, of course, he sees what I want to say is synonymous with his concept of a cult. If a cult is a criminal enterprise, if a cult is a mafia organization, if a cult is a collection of greedy, avarice, plunderers of the treasury of the country, then I will agree that it is a cult. You see, because nobody in that so-called party or cult, if you want to call it that, in the pure sense of the word, will die for Rowley. Nobody will die for Rowley. What they will wait is for the next leader to emerge. But nobody died for Rowley. So therefore, if a cult is a criminal enterprise, which the PNM is, under Rowley in particular, if it is, of course, if it is a mafia organization, and if it is one dedicated to empty the treasury in their interest, fine. I can understand that. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, how you going?
I'm all right. I'm all right. And yourself?
I fighting up with them, man.
All right, partner.
You know, Dr. Rowley is like a front man for a Ponzi scheme, you know. A political Ponzi scheme that he pulling all over people are in this country, especially the poor masses of people who think when they put in money in something, it will last forever. But in the end, the people at the top is the one that benefited, and they rug pull on you and you get nothing in the end. That is what Dr. Rowley is. The front man for a political Ponzi scheme. That the rich will get richer and they will put in and they will get nothing in the end. But they will keep on believing it, you know. Although the Ponzi scheme going down the drain, they will keep on believing in the person who is in charge of the Ponzi scheme, which is Dr. Rowley. That is how I sum it up for them. Because these people that support Dr. Rowley, he can do no wrong. The PNM can do no wrong. The PNM is a party with a front man as a black man that the masses will flock to because they look like them. And that is the only reason why most of these people will go and vote for the party. It's because of who in charge. They put a black face, but the white puppet masters and Syrian puppet masters are the party at the end of the day. You understand? Nothing more than that. I want to go back to the incident that took place in court. Like I saw there.
Yes.
5 people got shot. And the main excuse for the policeman is that they try to rob him. 5 people come there to rob him. In what way? They didn't find no gun. It was a real thing up. Listen, this place is outrageous, you know. And they didn't lock the man, you know. What I heard that some kind of thing was taking place behind it, some kind of scam thing. And he should have been held forthwith. Because 2 people were murdered. I call it that. And 3 other people got shot.
Yeah.
And the other 3 people will testify to the fact of what he was doing there. right?
Yeah.
So the police are clean up their act, as long as they clean up the people in the police too, because that's a form of corruption. And he can't go about treating people like they did prison or dog in the street. So I want to clean up all of these what was the corrupt policemen organization too, because you see,
Yes.
they was part of military too, right? When Lennox, two
Yes.
people dead because of that incidentally, who could have been alive. And the poor lady, she's crying because she has to two parents. You know that's how America used to parents?
Mm-hmm.
That's heartbreaking for our lady when I see her went through our lady today. But I hope that this incident get clear by before the weekend. This weekend and that police officer has been bought and, and charged for what he did there. How
All
about
right.
the
Yes, thank you very much. Of course, I think the essence is that these people are blasted, corrupt, and they must go. I think that is the story that one can glean from the essence of what was said tonight so far. One can glean. So therefore, yes, indeed, they must. The people must decide, and then they must go now. Essentially, that is what the PNM ultimate destiny must be. The ultimate destiny must be. And then, of course, we will deal with the criminal aspect of it. When, of course, he, Rowley, and so on, he will be desperate. He'll get more desperate. But in the process, as a learned person in the area of criminology, he will make more and more mistakes. The mistakes will be greater and more pellucid and much more, of course, easy to, of course, generate an investigation to garner sufficient evidence. And in an objective, of course, criminal justice system, he is as good as being already in jail. Good as being already in jail. Because he will not stop. He keeps, of course, pushing the envelope in a bizarre exercise in brinksmanship. Because a rape, so catch me now. They say I'm too black to be, of course, the head of the PNM, but here am I. Stop me now. They say that I would lose the election, but here am I as Prime Minister. That kind of challenge, I personally love that. I know people will be frustrated with that, but I love that. I love that kind of challenge. And I too, we must fight fire with fire, in other words, in order to get rid of these albatrosses that are manipulating and saturating evilly our system. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
A pleasant good night again, Lennox. Let's go again. Lennox, Eric Williams used to call them millstones. He said there are millstones around the necks of the PNM. That's Rowley.
Yes.
And I want to go back to Maki Bum Bum Fly. I want to tell him in all my life, I never voted for PNM. So don't accuse me, an anti-PNMite, of having the country in the condition it is in. It is the crayfish posse that belongs to the PNM, who are PNM till they dead, have the country in the situation that we are in today. Good night, Mr. Tobago, right? It's they that have the country that in the state that it is in today. Not intelligent, right-thinking people like me and others. We know how to have a country running smooth. We saw what Kamala did. If Stevie Wonder couldn't see it, he could have feel it in his pockets. You understand? Everywhere else he could have feel it. That Kamala did a very good job. Kamala didn't butcher the procurement legislation for her friends and family and supporters. No, she made sure, and as Mr. Tobago rightly said, she made sure everybody benefited in this country. Everybody. But Lennox is that just to show you, Lennox, how the PNM cannot think. They cannot think. You started, well, at least when I came in, you were talking about Despa Spaniard, right?
Yes.
How many advisories from countries One of the places they advising tourists not to go is Duncan Street.
Of course.
And that is where they put the
Street,
pioneer.
Yeah, that would have put
Yeah, sorry. My apologies. Nelson Street, yeah.
Yes.
These are the places that they warn people about. And that is where all they put it. Well, according to Rowley, who dead, who live. Yeah,
I mean,
that's what he meant.
It's ludicrous. It's asinine. I mean, it is only a simpleton who will, of course, and then say that tourists will come there. I mean, who your mama guy?
Yeah.
Who your mama guy?
Who you fool?
Whose intelligence you looking to insult? I mean, these fellas are in cognitive and intellectual decline, man.
Lennox, I think it's more like low testosterone level. I want to say erectile dysfunction, but I can't say it when you hear them thinking like that. That is people like me, the old folks. I'm proud to be old, you know, Lennox, because some people not reaching my age, and they don't even have the intelligence of me. I can boast about that, Lennox. They don't have my intelligence. And I am proud to say, as a senior citizen, I could still make a meaningful contribution to this country. I can make a meaningful contribution to any program that I go on. And I am proud to say I never dip my finger for the PNM. So I am not responsible for the condition that the country is in. I have more sense than that to not to put a PNM out there. Thanks again, Lennox.
Well, I just figure I should elaborate a bit on your low testosterone utterance. I want to say that, of course, you can't talk that to castrated men and women. Some of them may be, of course, mutilated, but that being as it may, I thought I was just tempted, of course, to intervene there on that one and to reinforce. Of course, I'm simply saying that you cannot talk about low testosterone when there are people who have been castrated. So I thought I should intervene there. But you raise a very important point, and that is, of course, the whole question of Dr. Rowley and the not only not being able to manage your affairs and looking for excuses, but the person who caused you to respond in the way who caused you to respond in that way. And I got the impression that they're accusing you of voting for them, and thus, of course, the disaster. But I want to say, that is a confession of that individual that the PNM is poison. The fact that a person who has a leader, a person, a pedophile, saying that who voted past, or when you have realized the decadence and the destruction and the incompetence and the maliciousness and the viper that the PNM is as an organization and the individuals therein, and then say that those who have contributed to the decadence of today, the disappointment that is today, then it is a confession that they are supporting that which they consciously know is wrong and debilitating and injurious to Tobago. I wonder, you two answers, how you sleeping at night? I understand Rowley and the strategy to try to empty, but what motivates you? I assure you nothing. I assure you want to support something that you believe really in your consciousness would contribute to the development. And if you are talking about and human capacity building, but that's something like they will now and kick the can down the road. Well, we know now that you are supporting evil, even though you know evil is evil. Even though you know. I say to you, I can't find word that I like, of course, to unveil you, but I want to say that shame on you. Shame on you. So I'm not going to people make those kinds of questions, because for me, it's like motivation, because all they're saying to me, like they have other folks and others, that are right, and you are on the right path, and therefore these elements, these individuals must, of course, go to sleep and turn and twist, because they cannot justify the support for Rowley, the level of incompetence, impotence. And I want to say finally that Rowley and they The other element that they believe that the evil they consciously know they are doing, but is part and parcel of their pernicious, evil, diabolical, wicked, dangerous, and of course anti-democratic and human destructive agenda. They know. But they believe they could get away with it because they will go, as I said, and interfere with those institutions that they have selected for them is strategically to keep them where they are, to do us evil or to continue their evil, which in fact will do us harm. Are talking about whether it's the Ministry of Housing, whether it's UNICOT, whether it is, of course, DPP, whether it is, of course, the EBC, whether it's the people, whether it's the Police Service Commission, whether it's all of the commissions that they could get their hands on in order, of course, to stay there and, of course, give it to those persons inside of there. Listen, the option is clearly that you better do what I ask of you. Otherwise, your 30 pieces of silver is cut off. So the former CEO of TSTT, and of course, Deborah Felix and others would know the wrath. And let me show you something. If you are one of the Blue Eye Boys, if you are one of the loyalists for evil, let me repeat. If you are a loyalist for PNM evil, you then get a reprieve after reprieve after reprieve. You doubted me? You want to know where the evidence is? Well, let me tell you. Al-Rari is the quintessential exemplification of that fact. His children, Rowley know them, but he is still there and was in fact Attorney General even in that debacle. But then it was so overwhelming, quite apart from the other issues such as his family and he, of course, getting handsome contracts, millions of dollars every month for his buildings rented unnecessarily by the government, as Rowley would have said, unnecessary. And don't tell me I know what I'm talking about, because when he opened the government plaza, he said that those persons who have private property and that they want to rent it to government, their days are numbered. Not Al-Rari and his family. Not Al-Rari and his family. But more than that, the Vincent matter, when that should have, of course, immediately, summarily get rid of Al-Rari. He is there as Minister of Local Government and in our faces and talking a bunch of hogwash and, of course, pushing ahead that Rowley say he would have never pushed, and that is the promotion for the implementation of the property tax. And in case you're telling me it's only one example I have, well, let me give you a more gloating and a more pellucid and a more conspicuous example. When, of course, Camille Robinson Regis, when, of course, she took out money from one bank, the same money miraculously, or should I say devilishly, remained in that bank. And, of course, and she deposits in another bank. But the final one, of course, I will give you is that of Darrell Smith. I don't talk. There's proof. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Hey, Lennox.
Hey, you're great.
Pleasant good night to you.
Same to
Pleasant good
you.
night to you, Lennox. Right. Pleasant good night to everybody in the life as well. And compliments of the season.
Same to you.
Well, Lennox, I just want to say something. I don't want to stay too long.
Okay.
A couple days ago, I was on my page chanting on the road down on south side here.
Uh-huh.
So I decided was to give back to the people. So normally where I just work my little PH is normally be $6 to and from.
Uh-huh.
So I say, you know what? I will give them a $2 special. So every time people come in the car, tell them here we're going on today, I have a little Christmas offer, you just pay $2 to go to and from.
Right.
And no matter what you do, Lennox, I get to realize they can't please everybody. There are certain people, and I want to believe it, these is the people that want supporting the PNM. Like them can't understand when somebody doing good for them. One person in my car, when I tell them by just paying $2 a day to go to and from, here we asking me where I get any money from to put my gas in my car. So where you worrying about that for? And next person telling me I should have charged $4 instead of $2. I said, but you all ain't understand what is I trying to do here? All ain't understand. I say this is a form of giving back to the people. I say because it's the people that make me earn a salary when the day come. I trying to do something to pass smile on people's face with the Christmas and that people find I charge too little. I had even go so far and tell them last year Christmas I had everybody who had in my car hold it for free. I ain't charge a cent last year because I understand what people going through. And even though when I tell them people, hey, today, well, that was last week that they paying $2, people couldn't believe what it is I was selling them. And then they tell them they say they wish other drivers could have do what I do. I say, but them drivers them can't think like me because I just think outside the box. And I let them know I say still have good people are wrong in this country. I say because they went in the Black Sea and find me. I rare as it come. But if I cannot do what it is I do with the little resources that I have, you feel Rowley and them can't do what they're supposed to do for the people. That is just to show you how evil and these people and them is. Because I had the whole treasury to the disposal, and they can't say give people 10%, the public servant, 4% they want to give them this year and next year, everything going up by 50%. What kind of maths is that? Kamala was giving them 14%, they refused to take 4%. Something is wrong with the mindset of the people who supporting and aligning themselves with the PNM government. So all I had to say, it will come a time where we will be forced to wake up, and those who can't wake up, they will already be dead. Locked on and listening.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And a very significant point that caller made, because we were talking about why it is that the PNM and Rowley has been able to get people to a sufficient degree to be concerned. To be concerned. Because elections went and we saw, whilst of course the opposition would have gotten 60,000 more, they got some votes that I consider to be substantial. And of course retain 7 of the corporations. You know what is the issue there? It's because Rowley and they understand that psychology of self-mutilation. You know what I say? I say the psychology of self-mutilation. In other words, of suicide. I can't use self there because suicide itself, it will be rhetorical if I say self-suicide, because suicide is, of course, the killing by one, by himself. But it is self-mutilation. And it comes from a philosophy called Machiavellian philosophy, where you damage and you and you provide ache and pain. Listen to Rowley. When Rowley speaks, like Hines, he will tell you, in spite of all of the murders, people go vote for us still. And that somehow resonates with some people, whether you're a sycophant, whether you're a politician, a person like me. If I see him on the street and he tells me that, I yearning to see him so I could tell him how we mother make him. I go vote for you because you take my money and you were unable to, of course, secure me so that my fellow men are in mortal danger on a daily basis. In fact, people, today, the numbers officially is 547, but I know this evening there were 5 persons got shot. I understand 2 has died so far. So we are quickly reaching the 550 and well on our way before the end of the year to, of course, that 600 marker. You had Rowley telling us that, listen, free, even though, of course, people are reluctant, but it's free. And if people want to use it, that's their choice. So it must be there, available. But free vaccinations is not a dignified way of the Trinidadian. Just imagine that. That he don't want nothing free. But when he has to pay for it, doesn't tell us that how much he pays, because that is a top secret. That is, of course, governed by secrecy clause. Yes, security for that, a secretive clause. Shh. But you must not take things for free. And I'll tell you why he is saying that. I'll tell you why they're saying that. Just like when Trump did not invite him to his home in Florida, he said that the foreign policy of Trinidad and Tobago is not, of course, conditioned by a man inviting you home. But when Trump did send him, or give him a telephone call, he was boasting up and down the place, saying that I was in my bathroom, and of course Trump and the telephone rang, and of course it was the president of the United States at the other end. That hypocrite, that nasty narcissist, dictator, polluted to the core. And then we found out is that he Rowley, paid a man in United States, a lobbyist, the same fella, the Gill fella, with the bus and the destroyed and the collapse initiative called Naikwan. The same fella. Give him $100 million. And then Rowley, as he did with Al-Rari, but of course, in the case of Al-Rari, as I said, because he is so vital to his pernicious and evil agenda, he will keep him, but slightly distance him. So he moved him, of course, from the office of the Attorney General and bring in, of course, a more dangerous element. I say dangerous from the point of view that you fail. Al-Rari failed to entrap Anand Ramlogan because whistleblowers say, no, this is nasty, this is evil. And on the question of whistleblower, Rowley said that he loved whistleblowers only when he concocted those fake emails in Parliament. That's when he loved them. You know, when Farley take a turn in his tail, when Farley took a turn in his ass, he then say, I'm going to court. It is an abominable lie. Because he must do unto others that which he does not want them to do unto him. That evil. So I am making the point that this kind of mentality where aggression is the best form of attack And when they engage in political shenanigans and utterances, and at the same time deflect attention, you see, it's a multiplicity of things that you have to at the same time contemplate and concentrate, because that is how they survive. They then, of course, as soon as they get found out, they will then generate some lie, some deception to deceive and say Kamala, Prasad, Bisesa, and UNC. As I've said before, if there was no UNC or Kamala, Prasad, Bisesa, Rowley and them would have invented it just to, of course, try to absolve themselves, by themselves, of the iniquities and the evil, because our circumstances has not changed. While all that talking, while all those monies that he said that he got, and more money for Trinidad and Tobago with those gas deal, our children in school are not getting improved lunches. You give them textbook when you should be giving them a laptop, and of course that will be able to carry all the textbooks in the world. Because they simply are on conmanship, they are simply on bubble, they are simply on criminal behavior, misbehavior in public office, and because they have the cloak of the law as attached to the office that they hold, like prime minister and minister and government and cabinet, man, they working it like salts. We're gonna conquer eventually. But people, before we go, what I wanted to find out, we have only 15 minutes after all of this talk and of course the interaction. I didn't plan to do that, but of course when you talk, no man must bark on this program, and I have to respond. But I was more concerned tonight with respect, of course, to the situation with respect. I told you the final statement of the meeting held in St. Vincent, and we were supposed to discuss the role of Rowley, which is no role, but we need to say why, because he will give us some impression as the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Amy Brown would try to gaslight us and make us believe, gaslighting, trying to make us believe that somehow Rowley played an important part, when in fact he was in fact a spectator, just as how if he went into the Oval to watch the West Indies play or any other cricket match, he was a spectator, nothing else. The only difference, he wasn't close. He had a ringside view. That's all. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night again, Lennox. Lennox?
Yes.
The HSF fund. Who is the one that invented that for Trinidad?
It started with Pandey.
Right. I remember he was in office saying he was going to implement it, but it was under Manning that Manning brought it about, right?
Yes, it eventually was adjusted to the HSF now, but it was, I think, another fund it was called, but it was the same principle, and Manning then, of course, brought it into fruition, yes.
Right, but it was the UNC under Pandey.
Concept of the UNC under Pandey, yes.
Put the concept into being, and Mr. Manning changed it into the HSF fund. But it was always the brainchild of the UNC.
Oh, yes,
right?
yes. Anything positive in this country in recent time is always the UNC, whether it be the equal opportunities, whether it be, of course, the equal opportunities is the UNC, of course, under Pandey again. And then, of course, you have the integrity in public life. Well, it was under Robinson. The PNM when coming to equalizing the society and doing justice, they not done that. In fact, the Freedom of Information Act was also under a UNC administration, and they try, of course, to see if they could have scuttled it, including the procurement legislation, which they scuttled.
And there's also there's also this thing with the Insurance Authority that the UNC put into place, not so?
Yes, definitely. That was a Kamala Prasad Bisesa creature, yeah.
And that is a major what should say, ministry or endeavor.
Yeah, and a major betrayal as well. a major betrayal by this government. They superficially have it there for posterity, but in terms of efficaciousness and for functioning as it ought to, more children should have gotten benefits. They
Not
have
only that, they should have
stringently
been,
put mechanism in
these
place to
children should
avoid
have been,
people from accessing it.
these children should have been rescued, because we've seen thousands of children being affected by one form of abuse by individuals, and they're not being brought to justice.
Yes.
And this is what that organization is highlighting at the moment in time. If it
Yeah.
wasn't into play right now, we'd have seen thousands of more children being victimized and or murdered and killed because of this issue here. Some of them getting a air or avenue to vent or to bring about some kind of evidence towards the police and also the authority to deal with some of these things. As slow as they might be, it is that the PNM is the one responsible for the slowness. But at the end of the day, that authority is doing some good work, because it was what should say, it was piloted under the UNC to see about children's, well-being.
Well, Kamala Prasad Bissassa has always been people-centered, and of course, the most vulnerable in society. We have, of course, the senior citizen. You saw what she talked about, of course, the silver economy. It was referring to the role and function continued of the senior citizens in this country, and you do cast them aside. And then, of course, the children with the Children's Authorities Act, and of course the Children's Fund. And then, of course, you have single mothers. You have even, of course, those people with cerebral palsy. There was a special arrangement made for them, and we can go on and on. I mean, it was a simple case of a person who has the empathy, the heart, and people-centered, Rowley, and they see government and governance as a checkbook or an accounting exercise. So if they have less money, they simply, of course, they have to do away with 10 persons. Well, they make sure that who remain is PNM oriented, and then, of course, they just take away without, of course, understanding that it's people you're dealing with who have feelings and who have families and who have responsibilities, just as they have, but that is not their concern. Is that Machiavellian type of attitude I'm talking about?
And the PNM supporters will run with that and say that it's all right. They don't want to
only because they have
yeah,
because they have been brainwashed into, no, it is not a cult. Is no different to, let's say, a gang, let's say in Laventille or Maloney or some other part of the country, where the members are indoctrinated to do evil. And you can't consider that a cult. That is a criminal enterprise with one objective, because the leaders like Rowley and they will get the money to, of course, sustain themselves. If you go in Laventille and so on, and you ask for the home of the leader, whether it be Sean Francis up in Malik, or you go in Junjun, where of course the leader recently died about a year or two ago, you would see that they have the biggest house and, of course, the nicest car, and all around them is decadence, and their followers are supposed, of course, to worship them. Well, that is a PNM. It is a criminal enterprise.
That is true, Lennox. Very much true. But at the end of the day, these PNM workers and supporters, they do what best for themselves. They don't want any of the workers, the state resources go out to them. They rather see it being targeted for somebody else.
Those who are sick, the sycophant. The word is really sycophant, but the sycophants, right?
But
believe in what we just now believe in the lies that they give them. That is what is happening here. They believe in the lies that is spewed, even though they're seeing it in their own circumstance. When they go down the road, they had to duck from bullet. You know what I'm saying? They have to, of course, face the licensing officer, who, of course, will give you a ticket for nothing, and the police officer, when they are instructed so to do. They experience all that. They experience the higher price every day. It increases in the grocery. They see that. They know that light bill come in, but yet still they are so conditioned. In other words, they are so stupefied, because it's stupid, you have to be stupid. So they are so stupefied into believing that somehow they had to worship that. And in that context, not realizing there is a bunch of criminals that have come together and study them and do things only enough for them to continue to worship them and, of course, support them by way of their votes.
Because the criminal enterprise that they worship turn the tail around and say UNC had them in that trouble. That's why
right.
they believe
It's all of that.
business.
Yeah, beautiful. You get the thing, man. That's the pattern of behavior. So we have to educate, and there's no other way to do it apart from, of course, fighting fire with fire. You see, Rowley wouldn't like people to call him an ass, and that is why I do. That is why I do it. Heinz don't want to be called a pumpsite dread, but you have to do them that in order for them to see that they cannot dominate in any way the bellicose or the toxic language. And you want to also at the same time make the sycophants and them, those who have been brainwashed, realize that these fellas are ordinary conmen, criminals, and human beings. There's nothing sacrosanct about them, even though they put on the shirt and tie, look as neat as a blasted pleated skirt, and they are behind all of that. They really have their eyes on the treasury. You just have to watch at Balize House and understand that. And that's just one aspect of it. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, but you remember when you were talking about this criminal enterprise? Yeah. Remember what happened to all of these criminals who have all these big houses they were talking about? They're in existence now?
No, they are not. They are not. And that is why, because of the blatancy of Rowley and in their case, because these fellas were blatant. I remember very distinctly when I was part of it, when, of course, in 2005, they went up on the hill and they said that we were part of it, and they made a confession and so on. Rowley and David made their confession and not as easy as they were. And, of course, Rowley and they are different in the sense that they have the law to protect them whilst in office, only whilst in office. That is why they're so desperate to stay in office. But as soon as they come out of office, I tell you me, all hell will break loose with that entire cabinet, because all of them have been so blatant and they have so much sticky fingers, all 10 of them, that any rookie investigator coming out of the police academy who could investigate these fellas, they can't hide nothing this wrongs. They can't hide the money, they can't hide the wealth. They have to say where they get it from.
But I go one step forward. The supporters who support them, they so brainwashed. You can't teach them nothing again, you know.
Well, yeah, there are those. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. There are those who you cannot redeem, but there are those who you could prevent. Like, take for instance, when I was operating under the UNC and vice chairman of the East Port of Spain Development Company, I understand my role. And while, of course, the UNC was so naive, I wouldn't say stupid, but naive, to keep the CEO that came out of the PNM experience there, she trying to tell me that I mustn't go and talk to them fellas. I come from there. I have been appointed as vice chairman to look after the area, the only institution, a government institution, a government enterprise dedicated to one area from Charlotte Street to Malik in the east, to look at the infrastructure and look at the socio-economic and psycho-cultural reality so as to generate the transformation that is required attitudinally, not necessarily physically, because you have other agencies such as the Ministry of Works and the regional corporations and so on to deal with that aspect. Of course, you have to work in cooperation and in coordination. But the point I'm making is, they're telling me, don't go and talk to them fellas. But I used to go. I say, hold on the tail. I go up in Picton, I go down in Silat, I go in the Beatum, I tell them, listen, there is a contract that will be awarded soon. Those of you who have companies, go and make all your application. Go and make. You see, it is not for the politicians, or should I say people at the level of minister, like Heinz and them, to do that. You must have some buttress, but you also must know that you're not easing up the opportunities for them, but you are bringing them into the system so that they could function. And once they have the resources, because it goes beyond that, you still have to go back now and show them how to share it, because you don't want them going and buy guns, etc., etc. So there is a matrix, there is a formula, there is a psychological, physical, academic, educational, and of course transformative mechanism that you have to implement widespread. We're going to have to talk about that system in the not too distant future as we move inexorably towards, of course, a Kamala Prasad UNC administration come maximum 2025.
I'm glad you mentioned the word matrix, because if you ever see that movie, it had a pill in that. And if you take it, you go living in blindness. So I think most of these individuals who supported the PNM, them take the red pill and them living in PNM blindness. Have a good day, Lennox.
Yes, indeed, my friend. Thank you for that intervention and give me an opportunity, of course, to say some things that I would not normally have the opportunity to do. So I want you to know it is knowledge after knowledge, is experience after experience, and experience is always the best teacher. Don't let nobody fool you with that. Experience is best. That is why I could call Rowley, Hines, the entire cabinet, put them in a room, and none of them could talk what I just told you there. None of them, simply because they are aloft out of it and are just political opportunists, and therefore total parasites on the treasury of the country. In fact, I consider them political Draculas, political Kobo, political murderers, and indeed, they are poachers as well, conveniently, but they're telling you Kamala and them ain't good, but they're poaching on Kamala and, of course, the UNC members, as we saw in the local government election just gone. These fellas are simply unbelievable, but unconscionable, and will go there as if that never happened and still criticize Kamala and they for, of course, iniquities that is a figment of their pernicious evil and, of course, a very fertile imagination as far as evil is concerned. Let's go straight, of course, to St. Vincent and look at, well, ultimately St. Vincent, and look at the Venezuelan Guyana scenario. We are trying to put something together that we could get a better appreciation as to what is happening via video and, of course, your intervention, my intervention. And
the court indicates the following provisional measures. 1. Unanimously, pending a final decision in the case, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela shall refrain from taking any action which would modify the situation that currently prevails in the territory in dispute, whereby the Cooperative Republic of Guyana administers and exercises control over that area.
Now to Venezuela, where people are voting in a controversial referendum that the government hopes will strengthen its claim over territory in neighbouring Guyana. The non-binding vote aims to measure popular support for Venezuela's historical claim of Essequibo, and it comes after the UN's top court ordered Caracas to take no action that would alter.
So I put together, of course, very short excerpt of international news, CNN, Al Jazeera, and a number of other networks to show how international this has gone. But I do it for a reason, because I want to show you the opportunity that Trinidad would have missed if Rowley had done the right thing, because he had the opportunity before the intervention of Rav Gonzal. And I will show you as well where Rav Gonzal is being sought after by international media. And I'm sure that when he is looking now for assistance from these metropolitan countries, I'm sure that St. Vincent is sitting well in terms of the assistance that we could have averted, of course, a dangerous war in, of course, the Western Hemisphere in a long time. Not since, of course, the days of discovery and, of course, the challenge to Spain by other European countries and wars inside of the Caribbean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean and in the Caribbean and on the continent of the United States. Well, on the continent of America, divided, of course, into North, Central, and South America.
Guyana's control over the territory.
And Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro is calling for a bill to create a new province in an area administered by Guyana after voters approved taking over the oil-rich Essequibo region in a referendum. Maduro also wants oil companies working there under Guyana's approval to withdraw. Guyana's president has called Maduro's statement a direct threat against his country. The case is pending at the International Court of Justice, which has barred Caracas from taking any action in the area. The White House is warning against conflict.
We will discuss to create firm legislation to prohibit hiring companies that operate or collaborate with the unilateral concessions given by Guyana in parts of the sea that's yet to be divided. It will be done through special laws. I suggest that in this law, we give these companies 3 months to abandon those operations in the parts of the sea where the borders are yet to be set. 3 months.
Well, joining us now on Al Jazeera, live from Georgetown, the capital of Guyana, is President Irfan Ali. Mr. President, thank you very much for talking to Al Jazeera. Can I ask you first your reaction to Venezuelan voters approving a referendum claiming rights over Essequibo?
Well, first of all, as we said before, Venezuela has the right to do whatever referendum they want to do. However, as we went to the ICJ, we went to the ICJ specifically to seek orders against a referendum that seek to annex Essequibo, which is part of Guyana, and against the questions that were in that referendum. The questions in the referendum sought to give Venezuela the authority to act in annexing the Essequibo, setting up administrative mechanism, issuing ID cards, and the ICJ ruled overwhelmingly, unanimously, the ICJ ruled unanimously that Venezuela must not act on the outcome of this referendum. They ruled that status quo must remain, that is, Essequibo remains within the territory of Guyana.
Right. In Latin America, tensions are rising between Venezuela and neighboring Guyana. It's over this chunk of land that you can see there in lines in orange and green. That's the Essequibo region, a potentially oil-rich territory, which is a part of Guyana. And this is not just a dot on the map, as you can see. This region makes up 2/3 of the country. Venezuela has claimed the land since the late 19th century, but President Nicolas Maduro has escalated this claim, announcing his move to take over the region. Have a listen.
Immediately, we'll proceed to give operating licenses for the exploration and exploitation of oil, gas, and mines in all our Guayana Esquiva.
Yesterday, Mr. Maduro is now showing his vision of a new map of Venezuela, including the disputed territory, saying all residents from the area would be granted Venezuelan nationality.
The effect of the award regarding the boundary between a colony of British Guyana.
So, of course, so it made international news because, of course, there is a flashpoint in terms of war between Ukraine and Russia. Then we have, of course, Israel and the Palestine in contemporary time and simultaneously operating in real time. And then, of course, this other flashpoint potentially between, of course, Guyana and Venezuela. Guyana being, of course, the weaker of the two. Guyana just has about, I think, if so much, I think is 3,000 military strong, because they only have 800,000 persons as a population in such a huge piece of land. But we have, of course, 1.5 in such a small piece of land. We could fit in Guyana several times. But that's the reality. Of course, Venezuela has an army of about 100,000 persons. So you see, and plus they have more military and other assets. But of course, the Guyanese is smart enough to talk to the United States. And the United States, of course, made their intervention by way of saying it will be a mistake if you enter the Essequibo without, of course, the consent of the Guyanese, if you want, of course, to claim that area unilaterally. Well, of course, they went to the Guyanese took the matter in the right place, of course, to the International Court of Justice, and this is what the Court of Justice had to say. Whilst, of course, the the drums of war was being sounded and beaten and echoed over the border in Venezuela by Maduro, saying that he's going there after, of course, the so-called referendum, that, of course, he said some 80% of the people agreed, with, of course, 10 million people voting. Of course, it is said that they could have hardly seen anybody in the voting booths, but yet still he claimed 10 million people voted. But that being as it may, there was a sort of settling down, a sort of appeasement mechanism initiated by the Prime Minister of all places, small, little, minute St. Vincent, where, of course, an arrangement, not a settlement, but an arrangement was worked out to the satisfaction of both parties and to the rest of the world and the region, making, of course, or keeping this area a war-free zone or a conflict-free zone. Listen to the decision of the International Court of Justice as referred, the matter having been referred to it by the Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Gratus.
And the United States of Venezuela on 3 October 1899, to which I shall refer as the 1899 Award or the award. In its judgment of 18 December 2020, to which I shall refer as the 2020 judgment, the court found that it has jurisdiction to entertain the application filed by Guyana insofar as it concerns the validity of the 1899 award and the related question of the definitive settlement of the land boundary dispute between Guyana and Venezuela. The court also found that it did not have jurisdiction to entertain the claims of Guyana arising from events that occurred after the signature of the agreement to resolve the controversy between Venezuela and the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland over the frontier between Venezuela and British Guyana, signed at Geneva on 17 February 1966, to which I shall refer as the Geneva Agreement. I further recall that in its judgment of 6 April 2023, to which I shall refer as the 2023 judgment, the court rejected Venezuela's preliminary objection concerning the exercise of the court's jurisdiction and found that it could adjudicate upon the merits of Guyana's claims, insofar as they fall within the scope of the court's jurisdiction as defined in the operative clause of the 20.
People have got, we are after 10 o'clock already. I know that I did take about 15 minutes of your time, so let me go straight tomorrow night. Of course, I'll play the entire video, and we'll have an opportunity, of course, to comment on it. But let's go where the final communique, the final decision was taken in St. Vincent, and the reading of it by Ralph Gonzalez, the Prime Minister, who took the initiative, small as he is, but today he's towering above all Prime Ministers in the region. And I'm sure Rowley probably envying the man and wishing it was him. But of course, we will deal with Rowley's, what I could say, low-key, and of course, non-impacting and almost amorphous, if not looking more like a ghost, some kind of invisible leader in that case, because he was merely a spectator. Yes, indeed. Are talking about looking like a phantom.
Guyana and Venezuela declared as follows. 1. Agreed that Guyana and Venezuela directly or indirectly will not threaten or use force against one another in any circumstances, including those consequential to any existing controversies between the two states. 2. Agreed that any controversies between the two states will be resolved in accordance with international law, including the Geneva Agreement dated February 17, 1966. 3. Committed to the pursuance of good neighborliness, peaceful coexistence, and the unity of Latin America and the Caribbean. 4. Noted Guyana's assertion that it is committed to the process and procedures of the International Court of Justice for the resolution of the border controversy. noted Venezuela's assertion of its lack of consent and lack of recognition of the International Court of Justice and its jurisdiction in the border controversy. 5, agreed to continue dialogue on any other pending matters of mutual importance to the two countries. 6, agreed that both states will refrain, whether by words or deeds, from escalating any conflict
so that was the culmination of that exercise in St. Vincent last Thursday. And of course, as I said, tomorrow we will be looking at it in more details of course, at least the threat of war and the actual implementation of war, the execution of war has been averted so far. Because they have to meet again in Brazil in order to continue those discussions, but not the substantive one that is before the International Court of Justice. What will transpire ultimately, we wait and see. That being as it may, of course, I want to say, of course, a pleasant good night. Don't forget to tomorrow morning, the ground report, Andy, Mikey, and myself. Don't forget as well that
the court indicates the following provisional measures
as well,
1,
and that we will certainly want to explore.
Attending the meeting at Argyle, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, reiterated their commitment to.
We'll want to explore some of these issues that came out of the arrangement, the meeting. With the absence almost of Rowley, Bessie didn't go waste money, but I suppose he wanted to chalk up more frequent flyer bonuses so that when he get out of office, he probably could fly to whatever sanction, I shouldn't say sanction, but certainly where he may want to, of course, live where the long arm of the criminal law can't reach him. Yes. He may be looking for some kind of asylum. I hope it's a mental asylum and not one where he believed that he could be free in another man's country. So that being as it may, have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. And don't forget tomorrow morning, the ground report, Andy, Mikey, and myself from 6 o'clock. We will, of course, be so engaged. Have a wonderful one. And as I said, we will see tomorrow night. Bye-bye.
Jehovah, it's a Kaliman scam. The Kaliman scam. Down a Key Valley, ain't you got to hear me when I play no bando.
Right now, I talk some curb freedom, but to them say Christmas. This day after our day, but not forget lock up. Think them done.
You are now in the mix with DJ K. Fire.
All I want for Christmas, Calier, but we smoke up the herb and rest. All we want for Christmas, Calier, my Calier. All I want for Christmas, Calier, but we smoke up the pipe and rest. Please, the cutter send the herb over next door. Send on the herb, make we smoke up the pipe. Please, could you send the herb over next door? Make we smoke Send the cali come, make we light up the air, make we smoke up the signal. Smoke the cali her, make we red, cause we red and jet. Oh, ja. Christmas time now we deal with ice moss and rice moss and all kind of moss and pus and pus and rust and all kind of things, man, schism.
But I'm saying special dedication to all the cutters, special dedication to all the smokers. Yeah, you know. Fire, baby. Say bring the coachy come make me lick it till it done. Bring the coachy come make me lick it till it done. The Kali, say all I want for Christmas is a Jaja. And the Kali, cause this a Kali man scam. The Kali man scam. The Kali man a skank a gonna play it on the bank. The Kali man skank him gonna rub it on the bank. I say the Kali man scam. The Kali man scam. The Kali man scam.
Santa leave the North Pole and come down to Trinidad. He say it's too cold in the North Pole, so he couldn't stay. He come down right away to have some fun in this land of sea and sun. Soca Santa, don't leave a bag of toys. Don't forget you have to share it with every girl and boy. Soca Santa, don't want to ride no sled. All day. Soca Santa. Riva. Soca Santa. Santa say he intend to have Harrell for Christmas this time. And the place to be is this country. All them lovely chicks, parang music sick. And the tasty food, Trini woman does cook real good. Soca Santa, don't leave a bag of toys. Don't forget you have to share it with every girl and boy. Soca Santa, don't want to ride no sleigh in a big time Toyota Calabasin all day. Soca Santa. Viva! Soca Santa. Santa walking around in sneakers and jersey and jeans. Looking to see where have party. And he trying to storm, cause that is the norm. He come out to play, so he fed in Trinidadian way. Soca Santa, don't leave a bag of toys. Don't forget you have to share it.